So I'm going to be reading from my book, She Felt Everything, and this is Chapter 2, The Girl Who Felt Too Much. By the time I was old enough to run around and play, it was already clear I wasn't like the other kids. I felt things too deeply. I carried emotions in my body like weather systems. Joy would flood through me like golden sunlight, but sadness or stress from others felt like storms that soaked through my skin. I didn't have words for it then, but now I understand. I was an empath, and I was a highly sensitive child living in a world that didn't yet have language for girls like me. Growing up in a close-knit church family, there were always people around, always events, always expectations. Choir practice, drama group, Sunday school, church services. Life was busy and structured. I was surrounded by love, yes, but also by noise, energetic noise, social noise, and it was exhausting. My parents assumed I was shy, introverted, maybe a little socially awkward. They couldn't understand why I didn't want to join in, why I preferred solitude, and why I would sometimes withdraw. They thought they were helping by encouraging me to participate more, to get out of my shell, but I didn't need to come out of anything. I needed space to breathe. I needed silence. I needed to be alone, not because I was afraid, but because I was overloaded. I became the good girl, the helper, the one who smiled when she didn't want to, who performed when asked, who said yes when everything inside her was screaming no. That was the role I learned to play, but behind the mask, I was struggling to process emotions that weren't even mine. At school, church, and even home, I absorbed the feelings of those around me. If someone was upset, I felt like it was my own pain. If someone was angry, I felt shaky and afraid, even if I wasn't the one being shouted at. And because I couldn't tell the difference between my energy and everyone else's, I internalized it all. Over time, this led to a deep sense of being too much, too emotional, too quiet, too reactive, and too intense. I started to build invisible walls around me to survive. I learned how to blend in, how to make myself small. But inside, I was feeling everything, all the time. I remember the tension in my chest when I had to stand on stage for the Christmas play or do a reading at the front of the church, and feeling a physical sense of dread. My emotions were intense and hard to manage. It wasn't just nerves, it was a full body no that I didn't know how to communicate. I would have given anything just to go home, be alone in my room, and let the energy drain out of me. I didn't want to be seen like that, not because I lacked confidence, but because the energy of everyone watching me was too much for me to hold. It felt like a spotlight burning into me, Not the joyful light of connection, but the draining, overstimulating pressure of being looked at, expected to deliver. I didn't know it then, but my nervous system was going into fight or flight. Excuse me. I'd freeze or quietly panic, and I'd smile through it all, because that's what was expected. These weren't just nerves, these were emotional empath responses, my soul's way of protecting itself in an environment that didn't match its rhythm. Sometimes it wasn't the loud moments that stayed with me, it was the quiet comments that slipped into my subconscious and stayed there. My parents had expected a boy, and sometimes joked that I'd have made a great tenor to complete their singing quartet. They meant it lovingly, but something about those offhand comments stayed with me, like the time my dad called me the black sheep of the family. It was probably a throwaway joke to him, but to me it confirmed something I had always felt, but never said out loud. I didn't belong. Not fully, not in the way they wanted me to. And so I went further inward. I retreated into my room, into music, books, and silence. I wasn't sad exactly, just out of sync. And because no one saw it for what it was, I kept trying to be what they needed, even when it hurt. Looking back now, I see that my sensitivity wasn't a flaw. It was wisdom. It was my soul protecting itself in the only way it could, by turning down the volume of the world and tuning into the whispers within. But as a child, I didn't know how to do that gracefully. I withdrew, I hid, I avoided, I absorbed, and I didn't know how to explain why. I wasn't shy, I was overstimulated. I wasn't stubborn, I was overwhelmed. I wasn't awkward, I was attuned to the energies others couldn't feel. The world told me to toughen up, but now I know my softness was never the problem, it was the key. So I hope you enjoyed that. And that was a reading from chapter 2 of my new book, and that's called She Felt Everything by Gill Minto. And it is available to buy on Amazon in paperback and Kindle. I hope you enjoyed that. Love, light, and blessings.